Hello class 10. Today I'm going to start with the next part of the chapter A Mad Tea Party. This is part 2 of the chapter. Now what have we done in part 1 is that there's a large table laid out and there are 3 characters: Dormouse, Marcher, okay, the Hatter, and there is another character, that is Alice. But when the table is laid out, these 3 characters, they sit at one corner of the table and they have their tea when Alice comes in. And they protest that they don't have any room, that is no space for Alice to sit down. But the table was big enough and Alice sits down. Then she's offered wine, whereas they don't have wine at all. So Alice says that, it's not very civil to offer something to a guest when you don't have it. So they say that, if so, then you shouldn't also have sat down without taking our permission. So this is what they said. After that, the Marshal said that, okay, I'm going to have one. The Hatter said that he asked a riddle. And what is a riddle? He said, why is Raven like a writing desk? So Alice thinks that, okay, now it's a very good, there will be a good time passed because they'll ask riddles and it will be quite interesting. So she said that, okay, I know the answer. So when they said that, okay, if you know the answer, why didn't you tell the answer? Then she said that, no, like when I say that I know the answer, it itself means that I have already told the answer. So then they say that, no, it's not the same thing. When you say that I am sleeping when I breathe, is not the same thing that I breathe when I sleep. So they give several examples. But all that Alice concentrates is only on the riddle and nothing. The Hatter was the first to break the silence. What day of month is it? He said, turning to Alice. He had taken his watch out of the pocket and was looking at it uneasily. So he had taken out and he's saying, what date is it? Shaking it very now and then and holding it to his ear. Shaking it and then holding it to the ear. Alice considered a little and then said, the 4th. 2 days wrong, shied the Hatter. I told you butter wouldn't suit the works, he added, looking angrily at the Marcher. It was the best butter, said the Marcher. So he's saying that I told you butter is not the best thing to be put and it doesn't work. You see, it's showing wrong time. So the Marcher said, no, why is it? You see, it's the best butter. Yes, but some crumbs must have got in as well. But I think some crumbs, that is a piece of bread, must have got inside. The Hatter grumbled. You shouldn't have put it in with the bread knife. You shouldn't have put it with the bread knife. The Marcher took the watch and looked at it gloomily. So he took it and looked at it very gloomily. Then he dipped it into the cup of tea. Excuse me. Then he dipped the watch into the cup of tea. And looked at it again and then he looked at it. But he could think of nothing better to say than his first remark. It was the best butter, It was only the best butter and nothing else. Alice had been looking over his shoulder with some curiosity. What a funny watch, she remarked. Then she remarked, it's a very funny watch, you see. It works because of the butter. It tells the day of the month. It doesn't tell what o'clock it is. So it tells you what day is it, but doesn't tell you the time, okay? So after this, why should it? Muttered the Hatter. Does your watch tell you what year is it? Of course not, Alice replied very readily. So Alice said, no. And they asked Alice that, does your watch tell you about what year is it? She said, no, of course not. But that is because it stays the same year for such a long time together. But it is only because, why? Because that year, the span of the year is pretty long and it stays more or less the same, so it doesn't really change. Which is just the case with mine, said the Hatter, and it's the same thing with us. Alice felt dreadfully puzzled. She couldn't understand what is it like. The hatter's remark seemed to her to have no sort of meaning in it. So she thought that she's having no meaning in it, and yet it was certainly English. I don't quite understand you. And then they said that, I don't quite understand you. She said as politely as she could. The dormouse is asleep again. The dormouse, he falls asleep again, said the hatter. And he poured a little hot tea on its nose. And then he poured a little bit of hot tea in his nose. The dormouse shook its head like this, impatiently, and said without opening its eyes, of course, just what I was going to remark myself. And without knowing the fact, he started remarking that yes, whatever they are saying is correct, and I would have also said the same thing. Have you guessed the riddle yet? The hatter said, turning to Alice. So do you know the answer now? No, I give it up. I don't know the answer. Alice replied. What's the answer? So what's the answer? I haven't the slightest idea, said the hatter, that I don't know what the answer is. Nor I, said the marcher. Marcher also doesn't know. Hatter also doesn't know. So why did they even ask for the riddle, right? Alice shied wearily. I think you might do something better with the time. I think you must do something better with the time, okay? She said, then wasting it in asking riddles that have no answers than asking riddles which doesn't have any answer. If you knew time as well as I do, said the hatter, if you would know the time like me, you wouldn't have said this. You wouldn't talk about wasting it. If you would know how much time we get, you wouldn't have said us that we waste time, It's I don't know what you mean, said Alice. Alice said, I don't understand what you're talking about. Of course you don't, the hatter said, tossing his head contemptuously. I dare say you never even spoke to time. So the hatter said that, yes, of course you don't know. You never have spoken to time like that. Perhaps not. Obviously, none of us would speak to time. But I know I have to be time when I learn music. But I know I have to be time when I learn music. Ah, that accounts for it. Now I'll tell you. That is what is important. He won't stand beating. Now, if you only kept on good terms with him, if you only be good to him, it will not beat you. Not beat you means not this. Beating that means, past time. Here, do almost anything you liked with the clock. You can do almost anything you like with the clock. For instance, suppose it were 9 o'clock in the morning, just time to begin lessons. You'd only have to whisper a hint to the time. Suppose it's 9 o'clock and it's your lesson time. You just have to whisper to the time that you don't like it or you are not liking the time. You only have to whisper a hint to the time. Round goes the clock, start twinkling. 1:30, time for dinner. And then the clock would automatically turn to the perfect time that you would want, and it would become the time for dinner. I only wish it was, Marcia said to himself in a whisper. He's saying that, okay, I only wish that if it would be. That would be grand, certainly. It would be great, said Alice thoughtfully. But then I shouldn't be hungry for it. But if the time is like this, then I shouldn't be hungry for the time because I would get whatever I would want at that particular time, right? No, at first perhaps, said the hatter. No, I don't think so. At first you would be hungry. So I'll just keep it till this much. Please go through the chapter, read the text thoroughly because it's a very important and a very interesting chapter that you are doing. Thank you, children.